absolute more failure on the way for Meghan Markle after it has been officially confirmed that yes, oh yes, Meghan Markle's With Love Meghan holiday celebration officially flopped, failing to make it into the top 10 list of any country on Netflix. Any country, none of them took the couple at all. So, Meghan has another failure on her hands, and she and Harry just announced another project, which I can almost guarantee will be a failure because pretty much anything Harry and Meghan touch flops spectacularly. So, guys, we are going to get into all of this today. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary. So, smash that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. And hopefully, on Royal Fashion News, we will have a breakdown of all the recent tiara appearances. There have been 8 in total. So, if you guys want to check that out, feel free to click on the link up above. But let's talk about this because I had a really interesting conversation with somebody on X. And let's just start with this, which explains, I think, sort of why Meghan fails, why her fans don't understand her failures, and why this most likely will continue to be the case. Because I pulled up a list and I actually I looked at the global list, UK list, US list, and then you can go actually into Netflix and their top 10 lists and actually pull up every country and see their top 10 list. So let's go ahead and show you guys where I got this because I think it's important to this story here. And again, this has been quite wild, the conversation that I've been having. And I don't always like to go too far in, and sometimes I should just let things go. However, they're like the line of logic this person was using, I'm like, are you serious right now? But so this is sort of, we're on to dumb right here, and you can see the global top 10. So this is from 12/1 to 12/7. So we know Meghan Markle's show debuted on the 3rd. Here we have it here. Obviously, Meghan Markle's show, it ain't here. Actually, the rats being there is a bit of surprise because I heard that was pretty bad. And that came out a couple of weeks ago. So we see here sort of the list. Oh, the Witcher Tale just made the top 10 this week, which is really surprising because it's been around quite a while. So we see obviously Stranger Things season 5 blasting everything away. And then we have seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the rewatch list for people. And that's really, really, I would say, very, very huge because that shows again the longevity of the series and how people are going back through and we rewatching so that they can be prepared for season 5. This is what you want for a series. This is what you want, is that something is so good people want to go back again and again and again, and they're watching it more and more and more. It's not happening. And so you can actually get a breakdown. I won't show it here because it's probably not really necessary, but I'll show you how I do it. So if you click this little icon right here, which is this kind of little download icon, click that button. You'll see downloads. Now, we don't want to download the images. We want to download the list. And so you can get the global list, and then you can get the list broken down by country. And so if you get these, they're huge, massive, massive lists. I actually did pull this up earlier. So let me go ahead and I can show you guys what this looks like. Because again, it's just going to be helpful because I feel like the Sussex stands, they have to live in a level of delusion to make Meghan Markle viable as somebody in the industry. So here is the whole list. So I put in With Love Meghan holiday celebration. It didn't show up. And so if you put in here With Love and then comma Meghan, you can see all the appearances of her show. And you can see it broken down by country. So we're on the list down here. Let's go down to where we were. So we can see in Estonia, it was number 10, and this was actually the second week. So there are only 2 countries. I did a whole video breaking this down where Meghan's show ended up on the top 10 list twice in only 2 countries, and each time it was at spot number 10. It didn't make the global list the second week. The first week, the global list, it was ranked number 10, dropped off week number 2, and there were about I want to say about 25, maybe countries, 30. I did a whole, again, video breakdown of that list where you can see where Meghan's show ranked. And we can definitively say right now, the holiday special was a failure. And what's interesting too to consider about this, which I haven't explained, I did a watch party reaction, but I never did a full review because I don't really feel like it's necessary. But what I didn't share, and I had been thinking about, and these sorts of things, is that I think the show was supposed to be longer because it felt like it kind of moved through things rather quickly, but yet at a snail's pace at the same time. So it was like glacially moving, and then kind of the stories didn't seem to connect as well, you could say, as it did the first season. Now, mercifully, it was only one episode, but I actually think it was probably supposed to be more episodes, because how Netflix works and how you can even say YouTube works and anything that's streaming is that it's not as much about the number of people who watch, but the hours watched, because the hours watched tells you that they kept going. And with the holiday special being only an hour, that means you had to have a lot of people watch it for it to even chart, because you don't have 8 hours to work from. You only have, and I think most of her shows were more like 4 or 5, 6 hours overall. You only have 1 hour. So that's a really tricky thing to get even more views from, because you have to have a lot more people watch it. And the reality was, people didn't watch. And I understand why. It wasn't good. The first season, and this has been proven to be 100% true, and I speculated this, it was a Mindy Kaling tantrum that got people to watch the first time. They wanted to see how bad it was, and they wanted to see this temper tantrum she threw. Second time around, it didn't make the top 10 list at all. So this was season number 2, which Meghan did like a big dance. I was like, oh my God, season 2. It was really a continuation of season 1. It wasn't a second season. They had filmed everything back to back. And with this holiday special as well, the challenge Meghan has is that it was filmed a year ago. So everything she's doing, everybody she's talking to, like, this is a year old. And so as an audience member, it feels really, really odd, because I'm like, okay, like, design that advent calendar a year ago. You made that thing a year ago. Is it still in your fridge? It's probably like molten and nasty by now. And so the show itself in some ways just didn't even make a ton of sense. And it just cratered. I think because shows like Megan's should be so simple to produce that you should have been able to do it between November and the beginning of December and have it out December. And another thing I noticed, and I don't think anybody has really picked up on this very much, but there were 7 editors on With Love Megan, a holiday celebration. It's an hour long. There were 7 editors. I mean, Friends only had 1 editor per episode, and it came out 22, 24 episodes a year. And Megan needed 7 to get through an hour-long program? I mean, that speaks to a level of development hell in one way or another. She got mad at the editors. The content was bad. They were struggling to get it done. People had to move on because it was taking too long. Like, there are so many different scenarios you can read into them. And quite frankly, none of them good. I feel like even major productions for movies and stuff only have 1 or 2 editors. 7 editors? 7? Let's look this up real quick. How many editors were on Endgame? There were 2 lead editors who worked closely with the larger editing department. So there were like 2 main ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my gosh, guys. So this is what Google is coming up with. It took 7 people, maybe, potentially, maybe more, to edit Endgame, Marvel's Endgame. A huge, huge movie. 2 core lead editors, Jeffrey Ford and Matthew, who worked closely with the larger editorial department, including first assistants like Robin Boudet and music editors to manage the massive footage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Meghan needed 2 more for an hour-long special in a random house in Montecito, where you're just basically showing pretty pictures of California. They had to cut back 900 hours of raw footage to make things work. 9 people. And that's music editors. Those first assistants. Those are the assistants. The first assistant, editorial assistant, and the 2 primary. So Meghan somehow just needed 2 less people to add an hour-long program. I mean, that tells you it just tells you guys so much. It tells you so much. And Meghan now has her claws into another production. And I would tell this director, who I'm sure and has said that she's thrilled for Harry and Meghan to come along. And I will just say, everything they've touched has like cratered. It's all crapped out. Like, Harry and Meghan are not helpful because neither one of them are creatives. And I don't think Meghan is particularly good at this industry. We know Harry isn't good at this industry. And Meghan, I think, really wants to see herself as some sort of like creative and these sorts of things. But I will have to tell you guys real quick. So, I had shared about this top 10 listing on X, and I get some sort of Megan defender out there, and she kept going, Megan's smart, Megan's smart. She played a paralegal, then a lawyer on TV. You have to hire smart people for that. And I came back and I went, like, actors are paid, ladies and gentlemen, to regurgitate words that have been drafted and created by oftentimes writers who I would argue sometimes are smarter people than the actors. Not all the time. Is that true? And obviously, a lot of acting comes down to timing, being able to read people, being able to read situations, comedic timing, and these sorts of things. But by no means you being, let's say, a doctor on TV, a paralegal on TV, a lawyer on TV, a physicist on TV does not mean you're smart. Does not mean you're like really intelligent. And her argument was Megan has to be smart. She played a paralegal on television. Like, really smart people can play really dumb people can play really smart people. It's called adult pretending. They pretend for a living. And I was like, I looked it up because I remembered this because it surprised me that Johnny Galecki, who played Leonard on The Big Bang Theory, dropped out of school in the 8th grade. He only attended one day of high school, and he's playing a PhD physicist. Now, I would not trust him with anything physicist related. I would not trust him with anything at all physicist related. And yet, this person is telling me that, well, Megan must be smart. And ergo, Johnny must be smart. He played a physicist. Like, sure, sure. Again, they're adult pretenders. And Megan, this whole time, has been pretending to be a creative, pretending to be a producer. And this is why we get, I think, so much slop from her and Harry. It's because they're pretending and they're not good at it. They're not competent at these fields at all. They're just not. And it's sort of important to, I think, understand that, because a good creative can take bad content and make it good, and taking good content and making it bad is what Harry and Meghan tend to do. Because there were good stories in Heart of Invictus. But the problem with that series, it was too long, it was too bloated, it meandered, and they dropped the good stories. I have said, and I will say, I actually think that was actually their strongest offering. And it was sad because there was a really interesting story you could have done from the guy from South Korea, because it's considered shameful to have a disability like he had because he lost his hands. And that would have been a really interesting story of how he got his daughter, her friends, and those type of things to see beyond the cultural standards, to see him like more whole, and not see the disability quite so much based on their culture, which sees that as something shameful. Like, that to me, like, that was the story. The Ukrainian stuff was a little interesting, but then they're talking about this guy who was obviously, in my personal opinion, just not ever in a great place mentally. And it had less to do with the military, and I think more to do with like his own psychological issues that have been there like the whole time. And I was like, it was just weird. He was lying about drinking or something. I can't quite remember. Anyways, it was just bad. It was just really bad. And they missed the good stories. It became bloated because we had to start with Harry. Oh, I did the Invictus Games. No wonder it flopped so massively. Polo was the same way. There were like some little pockets of it that could have been interesting, but they didn't lean into the camp of it. They were trying to make it something sort of, I don't know, like high-minded or something. And so they missed the camp. And when you miss the camp, you kind of miss the things you can exploit to make this thing more interesting. So Harry and Meghan failed there. Their own series, Harry and Meghan, which was only successful, and Spare, which was the only thing of theirs that you could honestly say has truly been absolutely 100% successful, has all resided on the royal family. It's the royal family that has made Harry and Meghan successful, not Harry and Meghan themselves. And that's such an important distinction to make. And it reflects why I think everything hasn't worked. They've been given money based on his connection to the royal family, her connection to the royal family through him, not because either one of them are particularly talented or particularly good at anything they're setting out to do. And so people in the industry, though, they live in a bubble. They don't see the real world. And I mean, honestly, like, how can you watch all of Harry and Meghan's stuff and be like so gleeful that, oh my gosh, Harry and Meghan, they're helping to like produce the rest of my movie at the Sundance so it can get out there. And it's like, ooh, ooh, anything Harry and Meghan touch tends to not go well. And they are, unless they have a very minimal involvement, and even their minimally involvement stuff is not good. It's probably not going to be all that successful. So let's look at this latest project. And this is going to be, I think, just a little bit of a failure here. Harry and Meghan take a bite out of Cookie Queen's absolutely irresistible Girl Scouts documentary heading to Sundance. Now, what's important to talk about this as well is that this is a lot about Meghan. You see, I'm the troop leader for my Girl Scouts. I did Girl Scouts. This is why I'm interested, because everything has to revolve around her. And so, is this good? And will Meghan and Harry actually be able to help this project? Remains to be seen. And this is an industry, guys, in crisis. Because if you're not aware, Netflix has offered to buy Warner Brothers Studios. So this is one of the last legacy studios, which is going to be gobbled up by a streaming platform. And Netflix has won the streaming wars. It is the biggest in the world. And I get that. It has a lot of success, but it has had a lot of failure too. And what Netflix is doing, which I find really interesting, because I was somebody who went to movies every weekend, like going to the movies, catching new TV shows, like was a huge thing for me. I go back now and I watch Golden Girls. Like I watch old shows because they're so much better. I don't even really even try with any new series because pretty much they're all bad. And this has been a shift in the industry that has happened since, the mid 2000s pretty much, or the late 2000s. And as the industry has shifted, comedy has decreased, like everything. I don't even go to the movies anymore. I hardly ever go to the movies. And I used to love going to the movies. And with Netflix potentially gobbling up Warner Brothers, that means there's probably going to be less things in the theater. Disney gobbling up Fox has already meant less things in the theater. We're going to get more of that. MGM was purchased by Amazon. And so you have this whole industry that is sort of dying. Harry and Meghan have attached themselves to really a dying industry. Because Netflix's model, if you actually watch their stuff, you can see this. If you watch it really closely, is that Netflix's stuff, generally, not all the time, but a lot of their shows are designed for you to be able to do something else while watching it. Now, granted, I do those things because I work on editing videos and stuff while watching TV because it's like my ADD brain needs it. But when it comes to Netflix, they're making content, not material, but content. A lot of their best performing stuff, like Suits, was made before the content era. Because right now, guys, we're in the content era. We're not in the project area or the story area or something like that. We're in the content era of entertainment. So that means that everything is sort of less in a lot of ways because it's designed for you to be doing something else and watching it, which means you're not really watching it. You're not really paying attention to it. And that is, of course, the challenge here, but I just don't see Harry and Meghan as able to navigate this well. And I just don't think this is going to be, we'll see how this goes. And I would imagine this would be only successful if people don't know Harry and Meghan are attached and if the story is good overall. But Meghan doesn't have a good eye for things. We've seen the things that they bought that are mostly done. They're mostly pretty poor. Like Live to Lead, I didn't even bother watching that. That looked horrible. And so this, I think, could be another case of that. So if it's good or it's bad, I don't know. But Harry and Meghan coming on, generally not a good thing for your project. So this will be at Sundance as the documentary. They're terrible at documentaries. Oh my gosh, they're bad. So they will executive produce Cookie Queens, a coming of age story about the joys, pressures, and pain points woven into one of America's most cherished rituals, Girl Scout cookie season. Now, what's sort of interesting is that I feel like Girl Scouts is not as much of a thing as it used to be. So yes, Girl Scouts still exist. They still sell cookies, but this is not the heyday of the Girl Scouts either. And it's been seen as sort of, let's say, in the Boy Scouts more due to scandals, due to sexual kind of scandals with some of the men leading it, abusing the young boys. Yes, that is true. Girl Scouts a little bit different, but they've weathered their own scandals as well, and it's just not a thing anymore. I would not put my girls into Girl Scouts. If I had daughters, I probably would not put them into Girl Scouts. I would find something else that does sort of the same thing, but that would just be me if I did it. And so this kind of gives a kind of breakdown. It says it's a captivating, candid, and full of heart. The film follows 4 girls ages 5 to 12 and their families as they navigate the annual whirlwind of selling and striving and succeeding. That's a description of Cookie Queens. For these Girl Scouts, selling cookies isn't just about thin mints and sisterhood. It's a crash course in entrepreneurship. Because Megan's an entrepreneur, guys. So she's got to have a documentary that, again, affirms that for her. Behind the smiles and cookie boxes lie real pressures, long hours, ambitious sales goals, and the weight of high expectations. Do we really want to be pushing kids into high expectations with this? Just questioning. Namas crafts a bold, vibrant, observational portrait that honors the girls' perspectives and illuminates the emotional and intellectual stakes of their experiences. So long before she became a member of the British royal family, Meghan donned the Girl Scouts vest, because this is all about Meghan, guys. Participating in that annual rite of selling boxes of cookies to fundraise for groups. As a former Girl Scout myself, with my mother as our troop leader, I have a personal affinity for this film. If you have a personal affinity for it, maybe it's not something you should do. Because sometimes if you are seeing too much of yourself in something, you can't see it objectively. And I feel like that's been Meghan's problem. And everything has to have like a personal connection to her. That means that she can't see a property, let's say, that doesn't have a connection to her, that is much better. She won't go for it because, she can't tie it to herself. And that makes her, in my opinion, a bad creative. Because as a creative, you should be able to see things beyond yourself because you're an actor or whatever. You should be able to see beyond. That's why actors can play physicists when they're not physicists. It's not a difficult concept. And that's why I think Meghan was so good and bad in her role, not because she was, let's say, a lawyer. And Meghan did go to Northwestern. It's a good school. I don't think university really means anything anymore. But when it came to her character, I think Meghan worked because the character was basically her. She can't play somebody else. She can't fathom something else. And if you can't fathom something else, you're probably not going to be a very good actor, because to be an actor, you have to think like somebody else. And for some people, they can't really do it. And I'm proud that all our conversations and collaborations have led to Archwell Productions partnering with this award-winning team to executive produce this incredibly captivating documentary, which basically means they're trying to help it get over the finish line and they're trying to distribute it. They probably won't have too much say in the artistic side of it, but if they do, golly. Oh, and there will be people who avoid it just because Meghan Markle's attached. Like, it's not a smart move. When we first viewed the early footage of this documentary, it was immediately something we wanted to be involved in. The creative point of view, the edgy yet humanizing tone and tenor of the directing. That makes me a little concerned. This is the Girl Scouts, guys. And the glimpse behind the scenes into such a nostalgic and also modern tradition of Girl Scout cookie season are absolutely irresistible. It's really not. I don't care about Girl Scout cookies. And I think a lot of other people feel the same way. I'm actually more excited about the bread I have downstairs and the really cool dipping oil I have. I actually probably may have a snack of that. I shouldn't, but I will. I'm proud and excited to be premiering Cookie Queens at the Sundance Film Festival, which has been a North Star along my creative path, and to share that with Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, because you must say that if you partner with them. And the Archwell production team are partners in this project as we introduce the stories of these remarkable girls with the world. So Alyssa, from our very first conversation, their enthusiasm was unmistakable. Meghan has a deep personal connection to our film's community as a Girl Scouts alumna. You did it for a year, probably, Meghan. Like, my goodness gracious is me. Like, so if I was a Daisy for a hot second and a Girl Scout for a hot second, it wasn't my thing, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do a documentary about it. Is this all she's ever done? You get the sense that Meghan has very few accomplishments, and so she goes over, because it's all about the dish soap commercial when she was 11. Now we're mining the Girl Scouts for everything that's possibly worth, when she probably did it for no more than a year or two, let's be honest. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, guys, come on. And the Archwell Productions team understands how this coming of age tale goes beyond the cookies to resonate not only with the world's 50 plus million Girl Scouts. Is that active or alumni? So there's only 2.5 million members, but 50 plus million Girl Scouts of the world, which means like people like me. I was technically a Girl Scout for like a hot 2 seconds, or maybe I was a brownie. I can't remember. Anyways, just because I was connected to it doesn't mean I care. Doesn't mean those 50 plus million people will show up for this documentary, by the way. But audiences everywhere. I'm grateful to have such thoughtful partners in bringing this delicious adventure to the screen. Cookie Queens is a beautiful stories and AJNA Films production in association with Archwell, Artemis Rising, Good Gravy Films, Meghan and Harry. The film is executive produced by Chanel Pinsk and Kadia something for Archwell. Other people, I'm just seeing if any of these names scream out to me as somebody who I'm like, oh yeah. No, I don't see any of these names as doing out. So Cookie Queens is an acquisition title at Sundance. Sales are being handled by Dan Braun and Josh Braun for Submarine and Maggie Piscane for WME. So Megan's probably still attached to WME. So, anyways, yeah, I don't think that'll go well. Personal opinion. It could be very good. I don't know. I'm somebody who actually really likes documentaries. I'm very picky though in some ways. It just has to be good. And Harry and Meghan are not good storytellers. They're terrible storytellers. And although they weren't in charge of everything, it's clear that they saw early footage, so they have had a hand in the editing process, I'm sure. Meghan Markle, again, used 7 editors for a 1-hour episode of horrible television. She doesn't have good creative instincts. But there's a lot of fools out there and a lot of fools that are, let's say, kind of entranced by a royal title. But I can tell the production team right now, just having Harry and Meghan's name attached to it means that a lot of people will avoid it. And if Meghan and Harry, let's say, have some sort of role in it, especially Meghan, people will then really avoid it. So bringing on Harry and Meghan, not only are they a creatively bankrupt duo, but they will not bring support to it. We've seen endlessly now produced the Harry and Meghan may bring attention to a property, but they by no means it's going to be a success. And their audience is tiny. Their audience doesn't chart. It's not a good metric. And Netflix hasn't bit on this yet. They still, but it's also interesting that at this point, Netflix isn't biting. And then with the Warner Brothers acquisition, they are probably not going to bite at this point. They might not. You have Paramount here who wants to do a hostile takeover of the Warner Brothers deal. So yes, lots of like kind of wheeling and dealing going on in the industry right now. A lot of people are happy. You do have Amazon that could pick it up, maybe Disney, but I mean the players in the industry are getting so much smaller. Honestly, put it up on YouTube. That's probably actually the best way to go and the way to have, I would argue, the most control because yeah, when it comes to Harry and Meghan though, bringing them on is almost to guarantee a failure. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye.